This is huge for the Phoenix Suns as they have fooled everyone, as key impact players like Mason Plumlee and rookie Oso Iguodala have really stepped up for this Suns center group, with Yusuf Nurkic dealing with some injuries, some inconveniences, and it is going to prove why this team is a top tier contender in the West because they've had some issues but have been able to overcome them with this fantastic big man play. And we're going to dive in and look at how these players have made key impacts for the Suns so far and how they can change the direction of this Suns team to be a top tier contender. We're going to get into all of that and more on this episode of Suns Digest. You guys have been absolutely fantastic at showing your love for CJ and I. We're really, really appreciative. So if you want to stay in the Suns algorithm, keep hitting that like button to make sure you stay up to date on these daily videos. But without further ado, let's dive into the video at hand today. And we're going to be discussing and looking at this Suns team as they have looked absolutely fantastic so far in the Western Conference, sitting at the top and getting a fantastic victory in their first NBA Cup game, taking on the Utah Jazz last night. And it is the Utah Jazz, so you might be saying, Bruce, it's a bad team. They're the worst in the Western Conference. They started to come back in the fourth quarter. Why are you so happy? But man, oh man, am I excited about this Suns team. We had a lot of question marks revolving around this team going into this season. And with some players being out and Kevin Durant, some of those questions have been answered, excuse me. Players like Devin Booker, who fans were saying played really bad after a sickness. He came out and dominated, dropping 30 points and leading the Suns to victory. Bradley Beal, a player who was making $50 million, a player who I have said on this channel multiple times, I did not think was the right player to go out and get as a third option. I am now eating those words as we see Bradley Beal looking very dominant, not offensively, but defensively as well with this Suns team, and really stepping up being that secondary scorer with Kevin Durant being out. And not only that, but with Kevin Durant being out, we have Yusuf Nurkic as well dealing with some injuries as he is on a little bit of a little bit of an injury thing. And let's look at this. Let's look at Dwayne Rankin. So he says we'll see how he feels in the morning. Hopefully it's a short-term injury. I don't think it's one thing. Said Coach Mike Budenholzer on Yusuf Nurkic. Said that rookie Oso Ighodaro will play an expanded role with Nurkic being out. And if we want to look at this article from Arizona Sports, obviously Nurkic will miss the NBA Cup opener against the Jazz with a left ankle injury. And Nurkic has been dealing with some injuries throughout this season. Had a little bit of a finger injury in the preseason. Now dealing with an ankle injury for the Suns now. And Nurkic has been a topic of discussion for Suns fans, including myself, as in the beginning of the season, he didn't look that great, wasn't being that great rebounder, wasn't being that great big man that the Suns needed. But in some instances, he has looked dominant in controlling that glass. But in some instances, and in most instances, he hasn't. And sometimes he's been benched, sometimes he's been sidelined, and the Suns have won without him. So it's a little bit questionable on what Yusuf Nurkic can bring to the Suns team, and ultimately, how is he truly going to fit within this core. And I think as we get closer and closer to the deadline, and as we see this team play together, we can kind of get those evaluations. But for the Suns being without two of their starters in Durant and Nurkic, even though they were going up against a weak Western Conference team, still showed their class and still came out and performed well. Like I mentioned, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker really taking care of things. But not only are those two players doing their own, but the two big men in Mason Plumlee and Oso Iguodala. Now, Iguodala only had 4 points in last night's contest, but had 12 rebounds to match that, which is absolutely fantastic for an interior presence. And we're going to give our shout out to Mason Plumlee. As of this 92 start for the season for the Suns, with Nurk going down, he's averaging 10.5 points on 72.7% from the field with 12.5 rebounds and 4 assists. All of this, in addition to his consistent production off the bench, is exactly what the Suns needed out of their backup center. And that's something that we have harped and talked about on this channel specifically, is having a player that's better than Drew Eubanks, a player that can be that interior physical presence, a player that can stop opposing bigs inside on that bench unit and can really just be a force of nature. And Plumlee has not only done that on the bench unit, but inserting himself into this starting unit has really transformed and really taken over and looked like he could be one of those plug-and-play bigs for a Suns squad that has a lot of pieces that need to succeed. Like we said, Booker, Beal, Durant, Tyus Jones setting up that offense. All those players need to be consistent. So when looking at this big man rotation and trying to find an ideal big man to fit with them, you need a player that can play defense, have some interior size, can shot block, can rim protect, can stretch out the floor a little bit, but ultimately can be a solid player and not get hurt, not get injured, and hold their own on with the starters. And with Nurkic, it's been a little bit shaky. We've seen some instances where he's looked really good. We've seen some instances where he's looked really bad. For Suns fans, a top team in the Western Conference, having an issue like that is not something we want to be running into. We want to have a well-oiled machine, a perfect team. So kind of finding out those issues and kind of finding out what's going to work for this Suns team at that big man position is key to do at the beginning of the season. Because if the possibility of a Nurkic trade comes into fruition or something like that happens, the Suns could explore that route. But ultimately, the Suns could hold Nurkic, fight him off these injuries. He could still be solid and still run with Plumlee and also Iguodala off the bench to give them some life. But I do want to note that Iguodala looked really solid in the summer league, had a fantastic game last night where he got 12 rebounds and really showcasing his skills. And I don't think he should be, sidelined as that third big. I think he deserves this opportunity to growth and kind of see it. And if that's the case, then maybe Yusuf Nurkic does have to be on the move for some of these younger players like Osa Ighodaro and even a veteran in Mason Plumlee to get that run. And maybe they should be looking at another kind of backup type of center to kind of be that role player to fit in. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. But ultimately, I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of Mason Plumlee and what I'm seeing out of Oso Ighodaro so far. But this, we'll get into the part of will this change anything, kind of which I just went into, which ultimately I don't necessarily know. Like I said, if we want to look at the big man group for the Pelicans here, like I said, Mason Plumlee and Oso Ighodaro accounted for 60% of the team's rebounds against the Jazz. And if we look at the center group, obviously, we know that Nurkic is there, Iguodala is there, and Plumlee is there. They had Frank Kaminsky. They obviously cut him on in Exhibit 10. But if the Suns are having players like Espo said, and Mason Plumlee and Oso Ighodaro accounting for 60 of the rebounds against the Utah Jazz. That is key and effective. And one thing the Suns need is that rebounding. One thing that they worked on from last season was getting over that assist to turnover ratio. They've already been a better team in that department with the additions of Tyus Jones and Monte Morris. But another issue that is seeming coming to play is that rebounding issue, is that controlling of the paint. And how well can Yusuf Nurkic really hold down that fort, or is it time to explore some other possibilities going into that youth movement with Oso Ighodaro to see what he can bring, and with Mason Plumlee? Ultimately, with Yusuf Nurkic, we're going to have to wait and see. If he's out for an extended period of time and we do see players like Plumlee and Iguodala really shining in his place with him not there, then I ultimately think the writing on the wall could be for a player in Yusuf Nurkic, as he does make some decent amount of money that the Suns could move off of. But if he does come back, if he still looks solid in this team, or if the Suns go up against some other opponents without Yusuf Nurkic, and they look a little weak in that front court with Plumlee, with Iguodala, just because they went up against a young Utah Jazz team. That could be the case as well, and we could still utilize Yusuf Nurkic. It's ultimately what we have to evaluate and what we have to see with the Suns team playing without Yusuf Nurkic and how they work as a team without him. If they can succeed without Yusuf Nurkic, then I think it's very much the case to say that the Suns could go out and trade him. But obviously, if he is a part of their construction and part of how they succeed with him coming back, and we see Iguodala and Mason Plumlee looking a little bit weak against some of these top tier bigs, then maybe buying in on a player in Nurkic is key. But let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. It is a little bit of a polarizing topic, something that is being discussed back and forth. But the Suns, on a happy note, are 9-2 in the Western Conference on a dominating front and are shocking everyone as they fooled everybody, bringing in Mike Budenholzer, Tyus Jones, Mason Plumlee, these rookies in Oso Ighodaro and Ryan Dunn, and have really unlocked the true potential of what the Phoenix Suns franchise can be. A lot of fans were really counting out this franchise going into this season, thinking they would blow it up immediately, but seeing how the Suns have really progressed through and developing, it is proven that Matt Ishbia, James Jones, and Mike Budenholzer set up this team perfectly for now and for the future. So drop down your comments, drop down your thoughts down below. CJ and I really do appreciate reading them, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a great rest of your day, and go Phoenix Suns. Peace out, y'all.